What is going on, football fans? The New York Giants were back at it today for day 6 of training camp. And it was a lot of the same stories in terms of guys that were on the injury report, in terms of guys that have been playing well, and in terms of guys who have not been playing well the last couple of days. Now, one thing I will say, unfortunately, I will not have any highlights because it was not open to the public due to the weather. A lot of the players were saying after that it was a very muggy day, and I know that. I work outside. Eli Manning in particular said it, but it did not affect Eli Manning on the field. He continued to look very sharp, and we're going to get into more detail on that as the video goes along. But before we get started on the news and notes, as always, I like to go over what I think is the most important part of training camp, and that, of course, is the injury report. You never want to see your guys get injured in training camp. To me, that is the number one objective, to stay healthy, and a lot of the same names were on the report. Pat Shurmur came out on Sunday, and he said that he had hoped Darius Slayton would be ready by today, after the day off, of course, Monday, when the Giants did not play. Slayton remained on the injury report with his lingering hamstring injury. Same thing could be said for Britton Golden. The undrafted free agent has been out with a groin injury. George Asafo-Ajayi was on the injury report for the second straight practice. He suffered a concussion a few days ago, so he remains sidelined. Asafo-Ajayi, of course, the former 7th-round pick, who could have been maybe in a slight competition there with Remmers for the right tackle spot. I expect Remmers to get the start opening day, though, but if he does not play well, Asafo-Ajayi could certainly contend to take that spot. Linebacker Nate Stupar was new to the injury report. They didn't really go into much detail as to what his injury was. Mark McLaurin, who we said broke his foot when somebody had stepped on it, I think it was on Friday, remained out, of course. Henry Tolliver with an ankle injury. The good news is Sam Beal, who had missed the 2 previous practices, was back on the field. He participated in individual drills, but not team drills, as they try to ease him back as he tries to get on the field to hopefully, for his sake, compete with DeAndre Baker for that second cornerback position. Wide receiver Sterling Shepard played today in a limited basis, but it's an encouraging sign. He participated but was limited in full team drills, and he was wearing a yellow non-contact jersey, and he was catching passes with his good hand. And a lot of encouraging things. People seem to think he will be back sooner than later to full strength. Now, without further ado, we are going to jump into the news and notes. Like I said, I don't have any highlights today, unfortunately, because, of course, the practice was closed to the public. But as always, what I always like to do is start with the most important position on the football team. And, of course, all eyes and ears are on Daniel Jones and Eli Manning. Daniel Jones went number 6 overall. We expected a little bit of a quarterback competition, but it's Eli's job. We all know that, I think, at this point. And Eli Manning further cemented that today. He cemented it throughout all of training camp. He has looked absolutely fantastic. And I'm actually pretty confident that Eli Manning is going to have a pretty solid year this year with the improved offensive line, the way he's trimmed down, and the way he's looked so far in training camp. And today he was phenomenal. He finished practice today 12 of 15 with 2 touchdowns. Manning hooked up a number of times, they said, with Golden Tate and Evan Engram. And you've really heard about him and Tate developing some chemistry. You've also heard about it with him and Latimer, not so much today with Latimer, but Golden Tate and Evan Engram were pointed out as guys that he really is developing good chemistry with. Unfortunately, Tate will more than likely be out the first 4 games this year. Shurmur also said, pertaining to that situation, that we will find out very soon if that appeal, if they're able to shrink down that suspension or not. So he said that should be coming out very shortly. Daniel Jones, the rookie quarterback, unfortunately for his sake, had his second week practice today, and today was probably his worst performance. Now, I didn't get to see the highlights. I just go by based on reports because, like I said, it was closed off to the public. I didn't have enough time to look at potential highlights, but he was 5 of 14 today with 1 touchdown, and he threw his first interception of training camp. So Daniel Jones really starting to take a little step back now. He's a rookie. You expect this, right? Especially as you're getting 11 on 11, the defense is getting reads on him. It's a learning curve, and we all know this, and we expect this. Eli Manning looked horrible his rookie year. So, you know you're going to go through growing pains with a rookie quarterback, but Eli Manning is the guy at this point. He's the guy, and I'm confident Eli Manning's going to be a pretty solid quarterback this year. I really am, with the improved offensive line. Now, let's jump into some other players, and we're going to touch a little bit back on Eli Manning and his chemistry with Evan Engram. But we're going to start with Kyle Lauletta Not so much with Lauletta, but the receivers that he had chemistry with. The New York Giants, of course, brought in Amba Adetuwe and T.J. Jones via free agency with all of these lingering injuries. Adetuwe, the Giants had brought in last year as an undrafted free agent, and he was actually a standout in camp. Didn't quite make the roster, similar to Victor Cruz his first time around. The second time around, of course, he cracked the roster, and he did magical things for the New York Giants. Not saying Adetuwe is going to do that, but he looked good today, and he had good chemistry on the third-team offense with Kyle Lauletta. He hit Adetuwe up the seam as Adetuwe was able to outrun the secondary. He also threw a red zone touchdown on a slant pass to T.J. Jones, the other undrafted, free agent that the Giants brought in after all of the injuries to the wide receiver position. Jones has some experience in the pros. He has about 850 career receiving yards. So encouraging things there from the two guys that were brought in recently. Now to touch back on Eli Manning and his chemistry with Evan Engram. One of the highlight plays today supposedly was Eli Manning on a play in which he hit Evan Engram on a one-handed touchdown catch down the seam. So Evan Engram really showing off the athleticism, showing off the hands today, looked really good, and they say the chemistry looks great between him and Eli Manning. Benny Fowler caught the second touchdown off the hand of Eli Manning in the red zone drill. Eli Manning was 3 of 4 with 2 touchdowns on the red zone drill. Fowler was able to beat DeAndre Baker on the play, and Fowler has looked particularly good in training camp. I think that's his 3rd touchdown in the last 2 practices in the red zone drill. Corey Ballentine was the guy who came up with the interception off the arm of Daniel Jones, and I believe that's Ballentine's 2nd interception in training camp as the, I think he was a 5th-round pick, continues to impress there. Don't expect him to get much time. They're pretty deep there at that cornerback position, but he has looked good. Jones was 1 of 4 in the red zone drill with 1 touchdown and the interception, of course, to Ballentine. Sterling Shepard actually today was fielding some punts, so maybe they were thinking about using him in specific scenarios. T.J. Jones, Shepard, and Jabril Peppers were fielding punts for the New York Giants in practice. Ryan Connolly also dropped an interception off the hands of Daniel Jones. So Daniel Jones was really sloppy today, almost threw another pick there to Ryan Connolly, of course, the linebacker that we took out of Wisconsin. Spencer Pulley continues to get first-team reps at the center position, as it looks to be more of an open competition than we may have thought between him and John Halapio. So that's one thing you really want to touch on there. Saquon Barkley looked really good. I mean, what do you expect? He's one of the best players in football. He was ranked the 16th best player in the top 100 list actually today, and I'm probably going to make a quick video on that after this. But he broke off a big run up the gut after making a jump cut, and they said he looked spry, he looked great. The X-Man continued to look pretty good. He batted down a pass from Daniel Jones at the line of scrimmage, and he also had a sack as he beat Nate Solder. And that's about it. Antonio Hillman stripped Russell Shepard on a ball. Hillman's actually looked good, and Julian Love was able to recover that fumble. And then they also said that Benny Fowler made a circus catch. So Benny Fowler actually had a really, really good practice today. But that's, for the most part, the news and notes. And obviously the headlines today, more so than anything else. I mean, Corey Ballentine caught another interception. That was nice to hear. But the headline today, Eli Manning continues to look unbelievable in camp. And Daniel Jones, for the 2nd straight practice, has looked sloppy. He also looked pretty sloppy in his first practice. So growing pains, right? We expect that with the rookie quarterback, but Eli is the guy going forward. Eli looks motivated, and that is encouraging things for the New York Giants. He continues to build a rapport with Evan Engram, Golden Tate, and Benny Fowler. So we'll see going forward. The New York Giants will be back, I believe, tomorrow. And as always, guys, if you liked what you watched, please subscribe. Drop a comment. Maybe give me a little thumbs up. Cheers.